Italian Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Questions from the Italian Football Podcast patrons, where you, our patrons, decide what the show is about by simply sending in your questions via DM on Patreon. I'm joined, as always, by Carlo Garganese. So let's start with the first question, which has been sent in from Ahmed Khaled, who says, "Hey, both, can Inter rely on the next generation for the next mercato? Players like Alexander Stankovic and Akin Samir are doing really well in their respective clubs. Add in Pavlovian alongside Piero, especially that this aligns with the new strategy by Oaktree. Why not? Additionally, I really want Cholo to take over at Inter, as he always said, whenever his Kivu adventure ends. How feasible is it that given that he's been with Atleti now for 15 years? I think, for me, Simeone and I will one day coach at Inter is like, it's like Ancelotti, I will one day coach at Roma. Mm-hmm. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I don't think he'll ever coach Inter. I think he's going to stay at Atleti forever.
He's also like one of the highest paid coaches in the world. He's earning like over 10 million euros more than Inter could even think about paying per season. So that's not going to happen either, unless his stock falls so much or he's happy to start earning less.
And also, you have to remember, he's an Atletico Madrid legend as well. Like, he was the captain of them as a player. He's won titles with them as a player and a coach. Like, it's not like he's at a club that he doesn't have any connection to. He has a lot of emotional connection to that club, and he has already written history with them and overperformed with them and done some amazing things with them. So, we have to remember that it's not like he's not. He is already at home. He was only at Inter for like a season. It's not like he owes Inter anything. He's Argentinian, and he's good friends with Javier Zanetti. But other than that, he doesn't really have a connection to Inter, if that makes sense. He has a much stronger connection to Atletico Madrid. As for the next generation, look, it's very, I think, it's good to give good young players a chance, like Inter is doing right now with Pio Esposito and these guys, but to kick out everyone else and start playing these guys in, week out, like Stankovic and Akin Samiro from Pisa to Inter starting midfield, week in, week out. Stankovic from Club Brugge, no, it would not work. It's best to ease them in the way that Kiev was done with Pio and Sucic and so on. I think that's, I think he's doing a really good job with easing them in. So, like that, I would I'm okay with that, if that makes sense.
Fair enough.
What, you want the kids to start immediately?
No, listen, I think it depends. But yeah, there should be some kind of strategy there. As long as there's some kind of strategy and you see progress and development, then there's no right or wrong way of doing it. The wrong way is the way the Italian system does it. There's no doubt about that. Exactly.
No, I agree 100%. But I think what Kivu is doing is look, again, his rotations have been spot on. We have to, he's been really good at handling that, and he's handled the beginning, the first storm really well and turned it around, and he's got the players feeling relaxed and comfortable. But yeah, no, as for with regards to, how many podcasts, it's like the youth and the revenue and the TV deals, like, you're tired of talking about the stadiums. How many episodes have we done on these things where we brought in experts, people who work there? We've covered it to death. There's nothing more we can add to this. Like, I literally struggle to add anything new of any interest to what we've already covered for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, we'll see. Cesare Prandelli's coming in now in this kind of role to try and develop young talent. He's been very outspoken about how wrong the Italian system is, how they concentrate too much on tactical side of things and physical, but in particular the tactical, and how they don't focus enough on the technical and the development of players. And so let's see if what he does and whether he's able to get the clubs to follow suit, or whether the clubs and more so the FIGC and the people in power just ignore him and don't, and then he ends up quitting in the same way that Roberto Baggio quit when he tried to do something similar. I'm not sure whether Baggio was capable of doing that, because I just don't think he's the right kind of character to put into practice, what he's preaching. There's a difference between, having a good idea, but actually being able to
put it into practice.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Look, whenever I hear people, whenever I hear anyone in Italian football say that there's too much emphasis on tactics, it scares the shit out of me. It really does, because no, the problem isn't the tactics. The problem is that there's no pathway for young players to the Serie A teams. There's no pathway for young players to play regularly. That's the main problem. Italy, and I can agree to a certain extent about how the physical aspect is. There might be a little bit too much emphasis on that. But why should Italy throw out the baby with the bathwater? Italian football is the best when it comes to tactical astuteness and educating footballers to understand tactics and read situations. Why should Italy throw that aside and try to be some cheap knockoff of Spain? No, keep what you're good at and improve what you're not good at, and adapt to the reality, but keep your own kind of characteristics to do that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, listen, I think that it speaks for itself how we're not developing players like we used to, as well as they're not getting the chance, but we're still not producing the phenomenons like we were back then, even at youth level. So I think there's no doubt about that. The reasons for that being, unless you're actually there, and you're in the training grounds, it's difficult to say for sure. We've spoken to coaches, and I've spoken to professional coaches who have told me, but I also speak from experience of playing in an English youth academy for many years as a teenager at Luton Town, at a time when the English youth system was completely, it was decades behind the rest of the world back in the 90s. Where because I was trained myself like that, and how it was all the way they used to train the players. It was all about the physical side. It was all about how big you were, how strong you were, who could tackle the best, who was best in the air, who was physical. It wasn't about the technical. It wasn't about who was the best player on the ball, who had the best brain, who had read the game the best, who could pass the ball the best. It was not about that. I was the best player when I was at Luton Town. I was the best player in the academy in my youth level, technically, skillfully, brain. It wasn't even a debate, but I was smaller than everyone else. I wasn't probably as physically developed. There was a guy there at 11 years old who had a full-grown beard. At 11 years old. I actually started quite young. I actually started shaving. I remember my mum used to bleach my moustache when I was about 10 years old. So I actually had I started to get facial hair quite early as well. But like bodily development, everyone develops at different ages. Yeah. Some people are ahead, So it's having that foresight at a young age when you're an under 11 coach for your whichever academy you're at, and saying, you know what, I've got this young player at the moment. He's not as strong as this guy, but in 3, 4, 5 years' time, when he gets to 15, 16, 17, and he catches up physically, then we'll see that this guy's going to be much, much better player. And so I think that when Prandelli's talking, I think he's also talking from that aspect that there shouldn't be an obsession with winning at 11 years old or 12 years old. It shouldn't be an obsession with picking the best under 11 players to win. If you're the Juventus Academy, under 11 academy coach, your job shouldn't be to win the league with your under 11s and pick the best players to win. Your job should be, out of all these players I've got, who's going to be the best? Who can I develop the best to, when he gets to 18, 19, to make it at the top? Not who's the best now because he's got a full-grown beard at 11 and he's really a 15-year-old's body. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's where the attitude needs to change. I think there's too much of it, and I've spoken to other coaches, there's too much of an obsession with each age group or category to win with that team. And it's not about developing the best players. And I think in Spain, They definitely do it that way. They're just about, in Spain, they're just about creating the best players technically and having them ready for when they're older, not for winning straight away then at 11 years old.
Yeah, that's. I think it's because Spanish football, like the football they play, is what it's how where football is developed to as well, and so their historically natural skill sets get better paid for it. They get better reward for how they've always played football. Obviously, they're modernized, but and they have a very coherent way of working as well. English football had to adapt, and I'm sure Italian football will have to adapt as well. All I'm saying is, I don't think everyone should try to copy one another. I think we should learn from one another and maintain what you're good at and improve on what you're not good at. And I think that's where Italy is a little bit in an identity crisis right now. And I hope a little bit like how Germany was before they changed ways and started developing. But equally, Germany's a good example because Germany has lost a lot of its traditional identity, I think, in part of this transition. They're no longer the team that used to somehow pull rabbits out of hats. They're not. I'd say the team spirit is not as strong as it used to be. I'm just saying it's in the sense that you just got to be careful when you tweak too much with these things, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You can lose yourself when you change too much. I'm not saying you shouldn't change. I'm saying change, but change wisely and try to maintain what you're good at and try to improve on what you're not good at. Don't just try to be Spain.
It's obvious Italy's obviously something needs to change quite dramatically now because there's been a disaster for pushing on 20 years now. So that's that's there definitely something needs to change. Definitely.
It's an interesting debate. Right. Next question. It was from Missak Ulikian, but it's kind of he's got two questions, and his first question is about Fiorentina. And Nick Passaretti also asked, so I'm going to read them together. So Missak says, most disappointing team by a landslide this season in the Serie A is Fiorentina, right? Is there any other nominee? And Nick Passaretti asks, why is the power of friendship not working at Fiorentina like it did at Milan? Oh, the power of friendship. Yes, I think it's easy. It's definitely by far the most disappointing team in the Serie A is Fiorentina this season. I don't think no one expected them to have no wins after 6 games. So I think they are the biggest of some disappointments right now. There's not much to add. And the power of friendship, yeah, I think Stefano Pioli is maybe the reheated minestrone thing. But then again, I think I don't know. I thought they were good against Roma and it just felt weird, but we'll see. Misak's next question is, do you agree with Tudor out comments by the Juve online fan base, or are they being pricks as usual? I'm always reactive with coaching changes more than being proactive, as there isn't anyone out there that's definitely going to do better with this squad other than coaches that aren't already employed. Let's say objectively, Juve has already played 3 teams out of the 6 in the league that are gunning for Europe. And the only game they should have won was Verona, where they got rat-effed by the refs, to use Nima's terms. I think it's too early to be calling for Igor's head, but they have just 3 more very difficult games left with Como, Real Madrid, and Lazio. And if they still are 3 points away from the top spot by the end of this brutal schedule, then they're going into a comfy situation. I think that's a really good point that he makes there, Missak.
Problem is that they're struggling even against the weaker teams. I mean, okay, you can talk about the ref against Verona and how that should have been a red card, and also the debate over the penalty as well. But if you watch the actual game as a whole, Juventus were abysmal and actually deserved to 11 against 11 deserved to lose that game. Yes, the ref, it was a disgrace, but the performance, and over the long run, is the performances that count. Over the long run, they translate into results. So I think that for me, I'm more bothered about that if I'm looking at the season as a whole.
Agreed.
But yeah, I think, listen, we spoke in depth about this on Monday, so that I don't want to go over, but I know that there's a lot of people that have doubts over Tudor and his coaching ability. But at the same time, 2 things can be true at the same time. And as we said on Monday, the players that Juventus have got are not I know. I said it at the start of the season. I never saw Juventus as Scudetto challengers because I looked at their team.
I think that's fair, and I think that's what I meant as well on Monday about the qualitative lack, not just in midfield. Individual qualitative lacking in defense and in creativity in attack, not just in midfield.
I think all over. I think in each department you can say they're lacking individual quality in each department somewhere in each department. I think some areas they're very strong. They've got some very strong players. No one's doubting Bremer if he's fully fit. Thuram, Yildiz, Conceição. I mean, there's teams in Italy. They would probably get into almost every team, or be, important from almost every team. But then there's really weak areas in the team as well. So it's just a very badly constructed, lopsided.
Yeah, that's the word. That's what I wanted to. It's a poorly constructed team, and it's been poorly constructed because you've gone from Paratici and the mess he left to Giuntoli and what he tried to create, which spectacularly exploded in everyone's faces. And now you've got Tudor trying to save this. As for Tudor being sacked, I don't think he should be sacked. I think he'll finish in the top 4. And next summer, I expect Simone Inzaghi to take over at Juve. I expect him to take over at Juve after this season in Saudi.
We'll see. They have to, I mean, but also like Conte this season, if you were Simone Inzaghi and you see the way this club is being run, I mean, I would think twice.
Yeah, but Simone Inzaghi Simone Inzaghi doesn't speak a word of English, and he doesn't have.
No, I know, but I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying a top coach. I mean, maybe Inzaghi's past that. The fact that he's taken a job in Saudi Arabia probably means that he's not going to think of his career in that way. Like, is it a good or bad move for my career? I don't think he will.
I think he took a break from Italy as a whole after 9.5 years, Lazio and Inter. I think he was more of hit the pause button. People will forget. And then return to Italy and relaunch his career again. I think Juve, to me, seems like the most natural fit for him. I think he could do great things. And I know that the Inter jihadists, as I call them, the Inter fundamentalists, have just put out a fatwa on me for saying something nice about Simone Inzaghi, who is essentially someone they hate. But he is a fantastic coach. I think what he did at Inter.
Don't you just hate supporters that unless somebody stays at your club for the entire career, you can't love someone unless they stay. You have to hate a player or a coach unless he stays at your club.
But it depends on the manner in which he left. Inzaghi did, to be fair, he did not leave Inter in a good way. But I think there's more nuance to it than that. And yes, the 5-0 against PSG was a bad look. Acerbi coming out and say we weren't mentally prepared. Like, last season was horrible for Inter for many reasons, but I think there are many people to blame for what happened last season, and it's not just Simone Inzaghi. Of course, he's got his fair share to blame, but if you look at the fact that they were in the Champions League final, again overcoming those teams they did, beating the teams they did along the way, I think he overperformed. I absolutely think he overperformed.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I'm not happy about the manner in which he left, but I think, again, there's nuances to that. But I do agree with you. It's exhausting, this. Oh, it's his fault, and now Kivu is the greatest thing since bread came sliced. And it's like, yeah, maybe chill a little bit. Like, don't calm down. I mean, Kivu's done some really good things. There's also some things that are not good, and he needs to improve. And he is improving. Like, let's calm down a little bit. Let's not, everything is not shit or champagne. There are there's various degrees of nuance in between. Right. Next question. Let me see where we are. So no, to answer his question, I don't think Tudor should be sacked. I think it's way too premature to sack Tudor right now. Right. Next question comes from CJ Barilla, who says, who would you guys start for Italy against Estonia on Saturday? And Giuseppe Di Benedetto says, Ciao Nima and Carlo, I got a question for the pod. Is Gattuso going to give us the ultimate gift of a blue-collar central back pairing of Gatti and Baschirotto? How about against Moldova? Oh, I think he meant Estonia. Or he meant, Moldova
next
in
month,
November.
next
Yeah,
month,
you're right. Moldova in November. We want a wrecking crew defense.
Well, let's do a preview of the game, and then we'll answer that question at the end of it. Estonia versus Italy this Saturday, the 11th of October, 2045 CET in Tallinn at the Lilleküla Stadium. World Cup qualifying Group I. It's the 5th game of the group for Italy. The state of play is that Norway are top of the group with 5 wins from their 5 matches, so 15 points, and Italy are second with 9 points from 4 games, 3 wins and a defeat, and Norway have a plus 16 goal difference on Italy, which is just ridiculous. So Italy's squad, first of all: Carnesecchi, Donnarumma, Meret, Vicario. Defenders: Bastoni, Calafiori, Cambiasso, Coppola, Di Lorenzo, Di Marco, Gabbia, Gianluca Mancini, Udogi. Midfielders: Barella, Cristante, Frattesi, Locatelli, Nicolucci, Caviglia, and Tonali. And then the attackers: Cambiaghi, Esposito, Moise Kean, Riccardo Orsolini, Raspadori, Matteo Retegui, and then we've had Zaccagni and Politano pull out due to injuries, so they've been replaced by Roberto Piccoli and also Leonardo Spinazzola after we called for him. So the big kind of call-ups or returns or maiden call-ups are Gabbia and Cristante return to the Azzurri for the first time in a year, and Cambiaghi, Nicolucci, Caviglia, and Piccoli are their first call-ups, and Spinazzola his first call-up for 2 years. So those are the big kind of call-ups. First of all, the squad, Nima. What do you make of the squad? Who in there do you like? Who do you not like? Who would you have liked to have seen in there?
I'm thrilled with Nicolucci Caviglia, who I already thought last season with Venezia was brilliant. I really like him, and I'm glad that he's getting a call up. I think he deserves it. I really like him. As for one player that I think is interesting is I like that Cambiaghi's been called up. I think it's nice that he brings him to look at him a bit closer. Raspadori, I like. I don't really miss that many players. I mean, I know a lot of people's eyebrows were raised when Cristante was called up, but then again, he's done his job. So he's done okay. He's done well. So no, I don't really think there's not much to say really. I think it's a very expected call up. I like the Coppola's in there as well. I like that.
I don't.
And what?
I don't like that. He's played 16 minutes of Premier League football. What the hell is he doing in the squad? It's just ridiculous.
I think it's good that he's in the squad. I think it's good that he has a look at him. I think it's better to have a look at him, and he's not going to play, but to get him into the environment. I don't think he's going to play a minute, but if he does well on training, why not play him? I mean, that gives him a chance.
It doesn't. I mean, doesn't really make much sense to me, to be honest. Why, if a player's not even playing barely a minute, but okay, if they're just having a look at him and he's not going to get a minute, but I just think we've got all these defenders, so many great central defenders. I know there's some injuries, like Buongiorno, for example, but then we end up calling up Coppola, who doesn't play at all for Brighton, and we've got Gabbia, who, let's be honest, he's not really Italy level. He's doing really well for Milan under Allegri.
He's doing well.
He's not Italy level, and Gianluca Mancini is not Italy level either. So it's like, I mean, listen, I don't think these games even matter because Italy are going to a playoff. But at the same time, it's just it's just a bit of a strange one. That the centre back is the one area of the pitch where we've got so much depth, yet we've still got Coppola, Gabbia, and Mancini in the squad. So. Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm glad Spinazzola got a call up.
Me too.
Because he actually deserves it.
He actually deserves it. Yeah, agreed.
He's been great. And if he keeps this up, I think he can be a real weapon for us in trying to get to this World Cup. Hopefully in March he's still playing like this. And other than that, I mean, yeah, there's some. I mean, it's Cancellieri at Lazio, who I think had an outstanding start to the season, and he was outstanding in pre-season as well. And I would have thought maybe after some of these players that pulled out, maybe he would have got a call up. And if we're talking about who deserves it, he deserves it more than Coppola deserves it. I know they're different positions, and but maybe he should have got called up. Chiesa being left out, I don't know. Again, he hasn't played that much. He's just been a substitute player. But I mean, I think he could have potentially been useful. But maybe Gattuso's taken a long game with him and saying, you know what, stay at Liverpool, just keep training there, get some consistency there. Exactly. If you're there training with Slot during this international break, maybe that's going to give you more chance of playing when the matches come along, and then you'll be in a stronger position for the games that will matter further down the line. But I think Chiesa maybe would have been a good option to have at least as a substitute player in these games. So yeah, otherwise it's kind of, we're working with what we've got. As for the probable 11, so Estonia play a 5-4-1. Hein, Tenista, Kusk, Pascozzi, Metz, Kolvat, Kate, Vasiliev, Miller, Poom, Sapinen. And I've only heard of one of these players. That's the goalkeeper, Karl Hein, who used to play for Arsenal. Or I'm not sure if he's still at Arsenal, but he was at Arsenal. And he's the only guy. He made a lot of saves in the first game, I remember, pulling off a lot of fantastic saves. Italy, it seems like they're going to stick with the 4-3-3. Donnarumma, Di Lorenzo, Mancini, Bastoni, Di Marco, Barella, Tonali, Frattesi, midfield. And then Raspadori, Retegui, Keane. That's the probable 11. That's what's being predicted by the papers at the moment. But obviously, we're recording this on Monday, and there's a whole week of training that could change. That strike force of Raspadori, Retegui, Keane, playing three attackers, none of them with natural width. I mean, Keane can drift out wide, but I'm just thinking, where on earth where's the width going to come in this game?
It's going to come from Di Marco. If he's going to play Di Marco, the thing is, like, Di Marco's not really adapted to a back four, but if you kind of invert Di Lorenzo and you become a back three, and then Di Marco pushes up with Bastoni next to him, they do that at Inter. So I think that's where the width is going to come from. When it comes to Keane and Raspadori, I agree with you. They're not natural wingers, but it becomes almost like a 4-3-2-1, if that makes sense. I think that's what he wants to use with Retegui as this like prima punta ball winner, holding up play, and also the prima punta kind of thing. It makes sense to me. I just want to make one comment. The midfield, I would love to see Locatelli, Barella, and Tonali play together. I would really like to see those three play together. It would be interesting to see what they can do. And also, I'd like to see Nicolosi Caviglia get a shot too. I'd like to see what he can do as well. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's that much to say really as to the lineup. And as like you said, we'll have to wait and see what happens in a couple of days when they've.
Yeah, I mean, Italy got 2 wins from 2 under Gattuso. Estonia got 3 points in the group from 5 games. Italy won the first game 2-0 in that bizarre last match of Luciano Spalletti, where they, for some reason, allowed him to manage that game, which was just insanity.
It's functional.
Just ridiculous. The most ridiculous decision ever. The guy's getting sacked the next day, and you allow him to coach the game. Just weird. Odds: Italy 1-6, Estonia 13-1, draw 13-2, and there's one kind of positive. Italy play after Norway's game, so they will know by the time they play Italy whether they can only qualify on goal difference. Seeing as Norway play in their very last game, they play Estonia. Their penultimate game before they play us. Norway play Estonia at home, which they're obviously going to win. So basically, Italy will know when they play against Estonia on Saturday, because the Norway game will have already finished. Italy will know whether they can qualify. They can only qualify on goal difference, and if that's the case, given that there's a they're minus 16 from Norway at the moment, and they're just not going to make that up, then that might even influence the lineup. They might think, well, you know what, we've got no chance of finishing first now. We might as well. Gattuso might think, well, I might as well just rest some players, rotate, and test possibly. I wouldn't rule it out. Especially as they've got a game a few days later.
Yeah, they do. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, if the people that have striked in Italy allow it to happen, which
exactly, and that could be chaotic. We have.
Well, it is. It's going to be. It's going to be. It's that game is that next game, which we're not going to cover. It's that game might not go ahead.
No.
I wouldn't rule it out because of the people. It's not going to get called off by the authorities. The authorities are not going to call it off. But the people, like if you've seen what's been going on in Italy, there's been 2 general strikes in the last 2 weeks, including on
millions of people out in the streets.
Friday. Well, no, there's 1 million in Rome and 1 million in other cities as well.
Yeah.
Like
a couple of million all over the country. Yeah, it's absolute.
So if they do that outside the stadium, I mean, I wouldn't rule out. I mean, that is possible. People are talking, and that could happen. So. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, let's still with this Estonia game first, and let's see what happens. Anything else you want to say
about this game? No, I mean, I think Italy will win comfortably 3-4-0. I expect Retegui to get on the score sheet. I expect Di Marco to continue scoring, and Tonali will score. I'll say 3-0. Retegui, Di Marco, and Tonali will score.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll win by a few goals, but it won't be enough for the goal difference.
No.
Because you're not going to make up minus 16.
No.
I mean, listen, if we're being realistic here, right? If Italy want to have any chance of finishing above Norway on goal difference, they're going to have to win by about 12 goals in this game. Because remember, Norway still have to play Estonia at home. So they're going to rack up a lot of goals in that game as well. So that 16 is going to go up. So they're going to have to win about 10, 11, 12-0 just to have a chance of beating Norway by 3 in the last. It's just, listen, it's gone. Yeah, playoffs, here we come.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Next question. Comes from André Barilaro, who says, "Hi, Carlo. Given the news about the San Siro sale, what does the process look like for the construction of a new stadium, and how does the San Siro heritage timeline factor in?" And Magnus Kaufman says, "Hi, guys. With the sale of San Siro and the surrounding area to Inter Milan, this is big news, isn't it?" And Marco Maganucco says, "Hi, Carlo. Inter and Milan have received approval to build their new stadiums. What are your hopes for this project? Include its design, capacity, amenities, and other features. Please also speak about opening date, plans, capacity, earnings, design, and name." So we have 3 questions there on the stadium. And basically what's happened is that the Milan City Council has approved to sell the San Siro to Inter and Milan. Now what's happening is that Inter and Milan are preparing to sort out the financial side of it, meaning find out, get banks, find the right financing to buy the land and the area off the council. This has to be done by the 10th of November latest, because on the 10th of November is when the second tier of the San Siro becomes a building of special cultural significance, which means you can't tear it down, or you can, but it's very, very difficult. We can thank the FC Nostalgia people for that, for giving 70-year-old block of concrete marinated in piss the same historical significance as the Colosseum in Rome. So well done, everybody. Proud of yourselves. So that needs to be done before then. And then after that, then the project of it starts, meaning Manica and Foster and partners are going to start actually putting their plans into practice, meaning, they're going to formally hand over this is what we want to do. And then This will obviously be litigated because the people who don't want to tear down the San Siro will fight this in every court available, and try to stop every single part of plan to delay this as much as possible, and to win and maintain as much of the San Siro as humanly possible. But the plan is that it should start in the first half of 2027 and be built by 2030, or at the latest 2031. And until that point, Inter and Milan will play at the Meazza. So the plan is to build the new stadium next to the San Siro. Once it's been built, move over to the new stadium, and then decide what's going to happen with the San Siro, whether it gets torn down and turned into apartment blocks or buildings, or commercial areas or whatnot. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up having two giant stadiums next to one another, where one is empty and one is new. This is the most Italian thing ever, to keep everyone happy, and instead of no one's happy.
We have that in Bedford. We have Bedford Town and Bedford United stadiums right next to me. Like, literally, I'm not joking. You can walk from one pitch to the other. It's just like,
but this is like,
shoot one over the bar and it will go into the other.
Exactly. That's what's going to happen here. As for the new name,
Pulisic's next penalty will go into the.
As for the new name, Sala, the Milan mayor today say that no, that's up to the clubs. We'll see what they come up with. So there's nothing final.
They're blatantly going to give it a sponsoring name, aren't they?
Of course they are. They have to. That's where they're going to raise.
It's not going to be called Giuseppe Meazza.
No, they're going to have to do that. And the capacity, I think, is 72,000, and that's what I've seen.
What is it currently?
Something like that, 78, 79.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And the idea is that the Meazza, which is almost 100 years old, is to be turned down. So we'll see what happens with it. They'll start from the third tier and then go down to the first tier. And the plan is that the only thing that's going to remain is the angle of the southeast tower, which is the part of Curva Sud. And only 10% of the San Siro as it is today is to remain, and what's left is to become offices and commercial areas. They're talking about a museum for the San Siro as well, to maintain 100 years of history. So there's quite a bit to, lots of green areas and stuff like that. But we'll see what happens. It's not really carved in stone, that particular part of it. So we're going to have to wait and see. But that's pretty much what's been decided so far. So everyone who's worried about the San Siro being torn down over the next week or so, calm down. Nothing's going to happen for at least a year. And who knows? I mean, if they can't even get the financing done before November 10th, then God bless. But I don't know what they're going to do, and they're going to have to move to a new area completely. I mean, once that the second tier of the Curva, the second tier of the San Siro becomes, legally impossible to tear down. So basically, as Scaroni said, the first half is over. Now it's time for the second half, which is very, very depressing, given that the first half has taken 30 years to complete.
Mad, isn't it?
I don't think it's going to get built.
So what we're talking about, 2055, yeah?
I think our great grandchildren might. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know, man. I have no hopes. I'm so tired of this that until it actually starts getting built, until there's actually physical building has begun.
This is the first time I've actually been prepared to discuss this without literally switching off. And the only reason for that is more because everyone else is interested in it. And so I thought, well, we better produce a video on this because everybody else wants to know about this. So let's just do it. Not because I'm really, but it is the first time that I thought, actually maybe something might happen now. Until now, honestly, every time there's a question on it or you start talking about it, and even you're fed up of it now, I switch off about this or any other stadium. Anything other, I switch off completely. I'm being honest to everyone there. Anything about stadiums in Italy, there's something switches in my brain, and I'm not even there. I'm not in the room. That's how.
Which is
so
logical.
And Marotta spoke about that last week and just said how ridiculous it is that he gave an example of how many stadiums have been built in England over the last 20 years or something, and how many have been built in Italy. And it's something like 3 or 4 or something like that.
It's mad. It's absolutely mad. And in the meantime, every village in Sweden has a multi-purpose sports arena built, and been modernized.
Mad, isn't it?
So, yeah, it's frustrating. I don't.
We've been through this opening day. You've said, haven't you? 2031 in time.
Latest 2031. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they want it to be part of 2020
Euros.
2032.
It's going to be one of the stadiums for the Euros.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
There's a Winter Olympics coming up next year, and they want the San Siro to be like that. They want the inauguration to be at the San Siro.
Yeah.
At the current San Siro. So they're not going to do anything before then. But again, like Scaroni said, the first half is over. I know he meant that as something calm but positive. It depressed the hell out of me because I'm looking at this from when this discussion started. I'm like, oh, so the first half took 30 years. So
second half.
Well, given that it's going to be a second half of extra time and penalties,
stoppage time, yeah,
exactly. With added time and stoppage time, we were looking at what 20, 30 years.
Depends on the referee, doesn't it? I mean, if it's Bidon Moreno when he went back to Ecuador after the 2002 World Cup and he played 23 minutes of stoppage time, he waited for the team from the city that he was going for mayor for to score 2 goals. then he finally blew the whistle. If it's him, then we could be waiting for 60 years. But let me ask you about earnings. Like, how will this affect the earnings of Milan and Inter?
They're counting on somewhere annually of between 80 to 100 million euros extra in earnings, just earnings, not profit, but more revenue
per year,
per club.
Per year per club.
Yeah.
Wow, 80 to 100 million.
Yeah.
And do you think that'll be something that would happen straight away? Because they'll have everything. I mean, where will they make that money from? Match day revenue because they can put the prices up. Commercial. Like you'll be able to get round the pitch. You'll be able to have the boxes,
have shops. There's talk of building offices and apartment buildings and stuff like that. And if they sell, because they own the land, they can sell those. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so much money that they can make from this. As well,
and they'll actually control it rather than the ultras.
Yeah,
the ultras.
Yeah, well, there is that. there is that aspect of it as well. Yeah, but Marotta was speaking about somewhere between 80 to 100 million euros more in revenue per year for the clubs. Yeah,
that's incredible, isn't it? And
because it'll also have much more. They'll have much more like business suites and stuff like that they can sell.
Yeah,
both clubs will, and they will control everything in house, if you know what I mean. So basically, the business vehicle is they'll create a company which is owned by Inter and Milan together that owns the stadium and the area and or operates it, and the debt will be taken on by this new company, and the revenue will go into this company, and so they'll try to pay off the debt and loan as soon as possible, which shouldn't be too hard for them between the Euros and all the other, think about it. You have a stadium, multi-purpose stadium like that. Say Inter and Milan play 50, 60 games each. That's 120 days out of 365. The rest, you can bring in concerts. You can bring in NFL like Tottenham do. All sorts of happenings and stuff, which brings it to maybe 200. If it can bring up to 150
rally,
well, why not? No, but from 150, if you can bring it up to 150 to 200, like events out of 360 a year, that's really good. That's a lot of money they can bring in.
As long as they don't ruin the pitch, like it would be the most Italian thing ever.
No. The person building this built Lord Foster was the brain behind the new Wembley. So
Okay.
yeah, it's a very, very accomplished.
Which got delayed quite a bit. So,
Yeah.
but it was. But in the end, he got it right.
Yeah.
Would this give Milan and Inter a realistic chance of getting back to their former glories in Europe?
I think so. I think it's not. It gives them a chance to at least do it. It creates long term. It creates a situation which allows them to be run like modern clubs. Whether or not they actually do it, I mean, the TV revenue and all that stuff isn't going away, but this then means that they have more wiggle room to actually do something serious.
Yeah. I mean, the gap in financial terms is still huge. If you look at, for example, the revenue that's coming through, if you look at the Deloitte Money League, you've got Real Madrid breaking 1 billion. You've got the Premier League clubs, earning 800, 700 million, 600 million. And then you've got the Italian clubs like, Milan, Inter, down by, I don't know, 300 million, something like that. So even if you're putting an extra 100 million, you're still 400. You're still miles off. But it provides the foundation for them to grow in the other areas as well, including match day, including the other commercial. Like if you've got a nice stadium, for example, then sponsors want to be involved with a modern stadium. They don't want to be involved with a toilet bowl, as De Laurentiis calls the San Paolo, or the Maradona as it is now. So that gives us a chance as well. And also the other thing is, I mean, San Siro is not so much of a problem here because San Siro is a real, it's closer to the pitch, but having those kind of Premier League like stadiums where it's close to the pitch, the fans are all close to the pitch. That really does give you advantage. It creates such a cauldron atmosphere. You don't get that with a lot of Italian stadiums in Europe. There isn't that hostile feeling. It also doesn't help because there's not enough fans go to the games. But a lot of fans will want to be going.
Well, that's the thing, and also people from it's an international tourist thing. Going to see Inter and Milan becomes much more sexy for tourists as well, and that just creates a positive vibe and buzz around.
Now they just need to make it easier for fans abroad to actually, buy tickets, longer than a week before the game. Then
baby steps, Carlo. Baby steps.
Well, they've got 7 years, 6 years to work that one out. So.
Yeah, baby steps, Carlo. Baby steps. Right. Next question comes from André Barilaro. It's his quick follow-up question post Thuram injury news. Could Inter use this time to explore a 3-4-2-1 setup with one of the more attacking midfielders pushing up next to Boni, Piero behind Lautaro? Zielinski, Miki, Frattesi would all get the playing time they are after in either or both of the two behind a striker. Could also keep the strikers rotating to avoid injury. Thanks as always for an amazing pod. Thanks, André, for the kind words as always. I think a 3-4-2-1 is where we're headed, regardless. I think Kyiv was moving towards that much more. And I think the way that Inter play is proving that they're moving towards that. So yeah, it is what it is. I think that was the plan even under Inzaghi. So there's not much more to say. Mike Corrieri says, my question for the pod, it's pretty hard to ignore the form and generational talent that it's Chiesa. Now where does he fit into Gattuso's plan for this Italy team? He seems too good to ignore, but how could it work tactically? I prefer him over Zaccagni or Politano any day of the week. Personally, thanks as always.
I mean, we discussed this before. He hasn't been called up. I think it's probably because he wants him to give him more time just to train with Liverpool, because those two players you mentioned are both pulled out, were injured, and he still hasn't been called up. But where does he fit in? I mean, he's been playing out wide for Liverpool this season. So Gattuso plays a 4-3-3, so that he will be out wide. There's nowhere else that he could play in that 4-3-3. So that's where it will be. Let's just hope that. He's only playing as a sub, as a 10-minute, 15-minute player, 20-minute player for Liverpool. He's in the Champions League squad, so let's hope that he gets enough minutes from that, plays the League Cup games, plays the FA Cup games, gets enough game time from that, and hopefully brings, some freshness because through not playing so much. Let's try and be positive with him because we need him, I think. There's a smaller chance it is that he gets back to the levels good enough to help us. I still think that we need to take a chance on him because the rest we know aren't good enough. So we have to I think we have to gamble with him. We have to just gamble on him and hope that he can roll back the years because we know that the others aren't good enough.
Agreed. Next question is for you, Carlo, from Hamza M. He says, how are people able to afford the Premier League ticket prices in England? They have the highest prices in Europe. If other leagues had the same prices, their stadiums would be empty. I say that because people are struggling financially in England right now. Thanks. Yeah.
And it's all the WEF's fault, Hamza. That's just the Hamza.
God, you too. No, but
that's just the Hamzas. Yeah.
No, but listen, the average workers can't go to Premier League games. Like the average people can't, and that's why the atmosphere isn't as good as it was when we were growing up in the 80s.
90s for me. Yeah, but
90s,
80s, no, we were saying about this before. It's they priced out the working class and the young from matches in England because it's too expensive. So the only people that can afford to go to Premier League matches now are those who are middle class, upper class, or those that have a salary or a job, an income, which only those probably from middle age onwards can afford to go regularly. But you can afford to go now and again. Working class people can afford to go now and again. And I'm sure there are working class people that go all the time, and they just basically don't spend, just live without the heating on for the rest of the week so they can go to the football. Basically, that does happen. I'm not even exaggerating, right?
No, of course.
In winter, honestly, things are so bad in England.
No, it's horrible.
They're so bad that a lot of families literally don't put the heating on all winter
insane.
now. That's
absolutely insane.
Honestly, you don't understand how high the electricity, the energy prices are in England right now is so insane. You would not believe it.
I've seen it.
We have a business, the cake shop. You should see our bills for the last
insane
since COVID. I mean, that's why so many businesses are folding all the time because they can't afford the energy and electricity and the rates.
No, I know.
It's out of this world. So, and that's an additional reason why people can't afford ticket prices because it's become a luxury now. Premier League has become a luxury. It's become a luxury. It's become, so no, they can't afford it. And that's why, like Nima said, the atmospheres are bad because generally it's the younger people and the more working class people who are providing the atmosphere. They're the ones that get involved and they sing. And
what's that famous banner? Invented by the poor, stolen by the rich. About football.
Oh, yeah.
Can't remember which fan base had it.
Yeah.
Next question.
It's expensive because, but if you have, imagine taking a family. Imagine if you are, middle age, you've got a family, you've got kids, you want to take your family, you want to take your 2 kids, your wife to the football. Do you know how much that's going to cost you? It'll end up costing you. It's going to the whole day out. It's going to cost you like £500 at least. That's for one game.
Minimum.
You include the tickets, the travel, the food, the everything. It's going to cost you at least £500. That's for one game. So you try and do that. More than once. You can't.
Next question. William Paganini says, "Ciao, Nima and Carlo. Question for the pod: What one football legend that never played in the Serie A would you have liked to see play in the league? Also, what's a current player you would like to see take their talent to Serie A?" I mean, off the top of my head, Lionel Messi never playing in the Serie A is a disappointment to me. Romario never playing in the Serie A is a disappointment to me. I would have
Pele. I'd love to see Pele. Juventus were close to signing him. Hugo Sanchez. I'd love to see him. Hugo Sanchez.
Yeah.
Cruyff, yeah.
Beckenbauer,
yeah. Yeah.
Quite a few. And which player right now would you like to see to come to the Serie A now? I would have loved to see Kylian Mbappe in the Serie A. I would have loved to see him.
He liked Milan, didn't he? He supported Milan as a kid. Well, they were one of his favourite teams as a kid. I think someone in his family, was it the cleaner or or somebody, someone in the family that made him support Milan. Yeah. Oh, today, Kylian Mbappe. Yeah.
I'd love to see Valverde as well in the Serie A.
Well, he's not having a good time at Madrid at the moment, so yeah.
I hope so. I love Valverde. I really rate him. There's a couple for you there. Next question. Jack Hacken says, hi, Nima and the old man. Got another question for the pod. Why did Roy Mackay and Giovanni van Bronckhorst never play in the Serie A? Two of my favorite Dutch players ever, and certainly up there with Van Persie and Kout for me. Were they linked to any of the Italian teams back in the day? And does Carlo by any chance listen to his favorite music through a wind-up gramophone with a horn on top? Although I would admit it isn't a bad way to listen to Mala Femmina. The song in question is linked to his Jimmy Rosselli singing it. One of the best Italian songs ever, without any doubt, in my opinion. Superb, actually. Kout was linked to Inter, but when Benitez was there, but Moratti didn't want to pay that kind of money for a 30-year-old. But I don't remember any.
Van Persie was Juventus were looking at him.
Yeah.
Before he went to Man United, they were looking at Van Persie.
And Mackay was linked to Juve too, if I remember correctly.
Possibly in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
In the mid 2000s, he was. Yeah.
That's true. But yeah, no, they were linked, but it just never happened. Next question, Jonas S says, who would you say is the biggest meme player of the modern era for each of the current 7 sisters? King Eldor obviously excluded, and no Carlo, aka Mr. Prisoner of the Moment. For Rube, it is not Lord Kelly nor Ranch on Pizza McKenna.
Well, it has to be one of those two. You can't just rule those two out when they're the most meme-worthy players.
Hard for you. He's making it hard for you.
Well, I think it has to be Jonathan David based on the last week.
No, Nicholas Bentner is a bigger meme than Jonathan David. Come on.
I thought we were going from current players.
No, he said...
modern era. Oh, okay, right, modern era. Yeah. Okay, all right, go on then. Go Bentner.
As for Inter, seriously, take every player pretty much every player during the banter era from Milan and Inter and just pick one. I mean, just pick one.
I think it has to be a moment that is memorable, like a memorable meme-worthy moment. So that's why I said Jonathan David, because of that slip is memorable, like Gatti's own goal or something memorable, like a meme moment rather than a meme player, if you know what I mean. But
yeah, but he is asking for meme.
Gagliardini, Gagliardini's miss.
Gagliardini, Mudingai, Gargano, Belfodil, Taider, Vidic, and Mazzarri trying to communicate is like watching, I don't know what. Mazzarri's telling Vidic on a press conference, "You player, io coach," is just.
Is that real? I never seen that one.
Yes, it is real. No. You player, io coach. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, as for Roma and Lazio is what?
Roma is Shomurodov. I'm sorry, it's Shomurodov. You're not taking away the most meme-worthy player and saying pick the most meme-worthy player. For Milan,
Kevin Constant.
Yeah.
Urbi Emanuelson. I mean,
Tataruzanu was pretty meme-worthy.
Yeah. Yes, quite a bit there. For Lazio, I thought Libor Kozak was.
No, I think it's Johnny, because you always used to do the
Johnny and Patrick.
Johnny and Patrick show.
The Johnny and Patrick show. Fiorentina, Kuzmanovic, just Kuzmanovic. Every club he's played for, he's the biggest meme there. Napoli, Aronica. Aronica was a meme.
No, I liked Aronica. He used to elbow everyone.
Yeah, he's quite the meme. Right, next question. And just so everybody knows, we the questions we don't have time for this week will go over to next week, so don't worry, we will be doing them next week. Hisham Nazar says, hi, Neiman Carlo, big fan of the pod. I wanted to ask, what's the real story behind Del Piero's exit from Juve, and did Conte actually play a role in it, as it has always been rumored. And thanks, and keep up the great work on the pod. Well, thank you for those kind words, and welcome to the community as a new patron. We had quite a few of those. So was it Conte's fault that Del Piero got kicked out?
I think, listen, Del Piero was 30, what was he, 1974, he was born, November 74, I think it is, and Juventus won the Scudetto 2012. So he was 36, he turned 37 a few months into that season that they won his last season, which they won the Scudetto, first Scudetto under Conte. It was his last season of his contract. So there was always already going to be a chance that he wasn't going to sign a new contract. You know, do you sign him a new contract at 37? So I think that there was already, you know, this could be his last season. And then Conte did what Conte's done, and we've always seen him do, which is, you know, just because you're a top player, I'm not going to just play you just because you're a legend of the club. And Del Piero became kind of like more of a sub player that season. He was a sub and still had his moments. You know, he still had some good cameo appearances off the bench. I remember he scored against Inter, the second goal when they won. I think it was 2-0 towards in the fall or in the run-in. And, you know, so he still played a role. But I think that it was the right time for them to move on. And I think what Conte did with Juventus and what they built after that showed that they all made the right decision. It was a perfect way for him to finish, in that they won the Scudetto again. They restored the club back to what they were. He got a beautiful send-off in that. I remember him doing that standing roll of honor around the pitch, and he got a standing ovation. He applauded everyone, and I just think it was the right time for them to go. And yes, of course, Conte played a role in it. Of course he did. But I think the club also recognised this was the right decision to make. And, you know, what was the alternative? The alternative was you kept him for another year at least. He would have turned 38. How much more would he have had to give at 38? How much would he have played? And it would have just been and it was also, it's one of those issues that sometimes it can be a bit of a pain to have a player like that, because you get asked the same questions every single time in the press conferences. Why don't you play Del Piero? As soon as the team has one bad performance or an attacker has one bad game, it's like, oh, bring back Del Piero. It just becomes a bit of a pain for a coach, you know. So I think
like Spalletti had to deal with Totti's situation towards the end. It was not easy for him.
Ridiculous,
at all. Yeah.
The guy was just walking around the pitch, you know.
Yeah, agreed. Right, a couple of questions before two, three more before we end up. Anzo Abitino says, a lot of players in the 70s and 80s are dominated from the striker position. Why did they not get the same chances with the national team? I feel like players such as the super talented scorer from every manner possible, Paolo Pulici, Roberto Pruzzo, Chinaglia, Savoldi, Zaccarelli, and one of my favorites and slightly underrated and underappreciated geniuses, Bruno Giordano, etc., could have really made a huge impact with the national team, and perhaps even brought Italy some more championships and Pallone d'Oros. These players would absolutely kill it today. Look, again, as we always say, look at the players that started instead. Who do you take away? Like, the depth was insane then. Or what am I missing?
No, I agree. I think Chinaglia is the one player on that list that I think definitely should have played more, but he screwed himself over in the 1974 World Cup. He had a massive bust up after being substituted against I can't remember who it was against. He got subbed, and he smashed the water bottle in the training it's a famous story in the dressing room, and just went berserk at the manager, and I'm not sure if he ever played again after that. But then he moved over to the United States as well, when he was still in his prime. Moved over to the United States to play with Pele.
Yeah, New York Cosmos, right?
With the Cosmos, yeah, and he was the star of the league. He was the best player in the league at a time when there was Pele, Beckenbauer. I think Cruyff went over. Did Cruyff go there as well? I can't remember if Cruyff went there. But anyway, so many superstars went over there. And many of them aging, and he was Carlos Alberto, and then he was the best player in the league. So he screwed himself over. As for the others, a lot of competition. Peruzzo is a strange one. I think with Bearzot, when Enzo Bearzot was manager of Italy, he did have a block of players. He treated the Italy national team like a group, and he had a group of players that stuck together for many, many years, right from the 77, 78, right up even up until 86 when they went to a tournament too long and he stuck with the winners and they were past their best and a lot of them were too old. He had a group, so it was very difficult to get into that group. And Pruzzo's one of those, because Pruzzo, how many times was he capocannoniere? You know, he's somebody that probably was a bit unfairly treated. The others, I haven't seen as much. I'll be honest, I haven't seen as much of Savoldi, of Pulici, these Zaccarelli. I didn't watch as much. I think Zaccarelli went to 78. I think I haven't watched as much of these guys. Giordano I really like though, part of the Magica at Napoli with Maradona and Careca. He was a really good player, but he'd done himself over as well. He screwed himself over with the Totonero scandal, and I think he got a ban for that. So circumstances, competition, bit of Beatzot favoritism, but yeah, so much talent at the end of the day Italy had.
100%. Next question comes from Majin T. He's got two quick ones. He says, one, will Roma regret not including a buy option in the Saelemaekers loan deal? And two, if the Friedkins ask you to pick one between Pellegrini or Dybala to continue beyond this season with the team, which one would you advise them to keep and why? With regards to the Saelemaekers loan deal, yes, I do think that with Gasperini there, they will regret it. I think he would have worked well for Gasperini.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
agreed, 100%.
And as for
I think
Pellegrini,
anyone would take him. I think anyone would love Saelemaekers.
So
Any team in Serie A would love him.
Yeah. As for Pellegrini or Dybala, beyond this season, that's a difficult one, man, because it's romanticism, isn't it? Do you want the Roman guy from Rome, the Romanista, or do you want La Jolla to continue? I don't know.
Dybala. I think Dybala's will have more use for them for another year. Depends how long the contract is. For another year, yes. Give him a 3-year contract, no. Yeah.
Agreed. Right, last question. Joshua Capelli says, been a while, gents. My question is on Spinazzola. I agree with Carlo that he should be considered, but not a left back. Italy has Calafiori, Di Marco, Udogi, Cambiasso, who are all starters and have different strengths as left back. Why not pick Spina instead of Di Lorenzo right back? Particularly if he continues to play well. He was one of Napoli's best players against Sporting at right back. I know Di Lorenzo is captain. He will keep playing there for Napoli, but for the Azzurri, he's not good enough.
Yeah, I said this on Monday, actually. Yeah. I actually brought this up on Monday and said I would maybe even consider him, seeing as right back has been such a problem for the Italy national team. So yeah, I would consider him. I would consider him as a right back, yeah.
I think so too. I think his versatility is a strength, and with Cambiasso, it gives you so many options tactically as well, in terms of
especially if we're going for goals as well. I mean, I know it's unrealistic, but if we're going for goals, let's just have two attacking fullbacks and go for it against Estonia. Put Spinazzola on one side, Di Marco on the other side, and just tell them attack. Let's just go for it. Let's try and get those 12 goals.
Agreed.
It's not going to happen, but let's just go for it.
Absolutely. We got time for one more question. The last one. Gianluca Anselmo says, "Hi."
Do two more questions, then we'll call it.
Gianluca Anselmo says, "Hi, gents. Hope you both are well. It's been a long time since I've written a question for you guys, but in the midst of Nima opening my eyes to the gorgeous 01-02 Roma Kappa Champions League kit, I had to ask this question. So many fans of the Italy national team, myself included, really loved Francesco Totti growing up, even if we didn't support Roma. The Romanisti was a god, and even half a generation later followed De Rossi. With these two being the modern gladiators of Roma, people often forget about a player who was once named the Prince of Rome. I'm speaking, of course, of Giuseppe Giannini. So my question is, as I've seen only footage of him at Euro 88 and Italia 90, just how good was Giannini week in, week out? And why is he somewhat forgotten and not spoken about like the likes of Totti or De Rossi?
Yeah, Giannini was a quality player. I loved Giannini. I loved Giannini. He was very elegant, attacking midfielder.
That's exactly the word. If Nesta and Maldini made defending elegant, Giannini made playing in midfield elegant. He was so nice to look at with the ball, and his movement. He just had that pizzazz, didn't he? That X factor. With the ball at his feet, and I remember towards the end of their careers when Baggio and Giannini played each other, and they had that famous photo together. before a game. No, I look. Giannini was wonderful, but he was he was again Romanista through and through. He's not spoken as much as Totti and De Rossi. He didn't win anything big with Roma, I suppose you could say. And
I think he was in the squad when they won the Scudetto in 80.
I mean, similarly to De Rossi, I suppose.
But
I mean, like De Rossi.
I don't know if he got a winner's medal. I'm not sure what the rules were in terms of, like in England, the rule was always you have to play 10 matches to get a Premier League winner's medal. They've changed that because Chiesa got one last year, even though he only played like 5 seconds. But yeah, it's I'm not sure.
But he did. He won 3 Coppa Italia and he got a winner's medal.
Yeah, he did get a winner's medal. I mean, I don't think he barely played that season. In fact, he didn't play a minute in Serie A. He played 2 games in the Coppa Italia. So, but he was part of the squad. So he still officially got a winner's medal. But yeah, no, he was a quality player, and he was fantastic for Italy. Euro 88, and he was really good at Italia 90 as well. The problem he had, and this became an added problem towards the latter part of his career, and it certainly would be a problem today if he was. I don't think he would make it today. He'd be a Pellegrini today. He's too slow. He was too slow. He didn't have that intensity, and so probably today he probably wouldn't make it because he's too slow. But he was back then. He was in the slower kind of, especially in Serie A. He was quality, pure quality.
Wonderful player. And finally, Eduardo Hernandez says, "Hi guys, I've only got a comment, and it's for Carlo. You always complain over and over about how penalties are so unfair. Well, Roma had 3 chances to score, not 1, not 2, but 3 from 1 penalty with 2 different strikers, nonetheless. Basically, Roma just proved Carlo wrong. Are you still anti-penalties? Great show. Keep up the great work, Eduardo."
Well, I mean, that was like we said on the Monday episode. Never seen anything like it ever. If anybody, I'm pretty sure that's never happened. Like in football,
I can't recall.
I mean, it's probably happened. It's probably happened at like Sunday League level, or something like that. It's probably happened in women's football because it's. Women, and this I don't mean this in offensive. Women are terrible at penalties, so that's well known. If you look at the numbers, the percentage of penalty kicks versus penalty goals scored. If you see there was one penalty shootout in the Euros. Did you see it? Like they missed almost every single penalty. One of the England penalty shootouts. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
They missed like 75%, 80% of the penalties were missed in that penalty shootout. Like it's well known, but in men's football at this level to miss 3 penalties in a row. No,
I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it.
They were so bad, the penalties as well.
One more worse than the other.
Yeah.
It was just no. Yeah, it was horrible.
Roma had a problem with penalties for a long time. Seems to be something about that Stadio Olimpico as well. That they how many penalty shootouts do they seem to always lose? Roma, mad.
Mad. Right, that's all the questions we had time for this week. And as I always say, the ones that we did not include in this week's episode will be carried on forward to next week's episode. So please do send in your questions before by Monday, because next week is a little bit different. It's the international break. So we'll have the Q&A on Monday. There's not going to be a Monday review pod. We're going to do a Q&A on Monday. So make sure to send in your questions by Sunday. And then there's going to be you're planning a Juve Moan Fest, a special. The woe is me, poor us. No, jokes aside, we're planning something to discuss. A pod that we haven't done in a long time, and these deep dive pods on a specific topic. And it's going to be about Juventus and
Romeo Agresti, who is one of if not the best Juventus journalists out there. He actually messaged me earlier today. The reason he messaged me is because he's been getting harassed by this. I'm not going to name him, but this absolute madman who's a Juventus fan. Everybody in the Juventus community knows him. I'm not going to name him, but I think people can probably guess who he is. He's a complete just madman. And he's suddenly started going after Romeo Gristi now. So he's like, he messaged me.
He's not suddenly. I think he's been going after Romeo for quite some time.
Yeah. And so he messaged me. He's like, "Who is this crazy person?" Like,
yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he's not Italian. He's it's a lunatic.
And then while he messaged me, he says, "Hey, come on! I want to come on the pod and talk about Juventus."
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. It's nice that.
So I said to him, "Okay, look, next week is quiet. It's International Week. We haven't really got much on at all. Let's be honest, next week. So, given that Juventus are really having a tough time, 5 draws in a row, and really struggling, as we said in our Monday pod, I think it's a good opportunity to kind of have a little deep dive what's going on at Juventus and
I think that's
as a whole."
Yeah, that's a good one. That'll be the free pod that we make free for everyone next week. The Q&A will be only for patrons, and that one will be the free one for everyone. A proper Juventus deep dive. So make sure. So that's what we're doing next week. So please do send in your questions by Sunday, latest, so that you make sure that they're going to be part of the pod next week. For the rest of the week, I'll be doing a post-match reaction after Italy Estonia on Saturday evening. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up.
What have Saturday nights come to, Nimere? Saturday night, so you're getting old when you spend your Saturday night in doing a post-match reaction of Italy versus Estonia, and you're not even going to qualify for the World Cup, isn't it?
Oh God, the amount of work I've got going, that's actually, it is age and also lots of work. Right, that's all we had time for this week. Make sure to send in your questions by Sunday. Enjoy the Monday pod that we published. By the time you listen to this, it'll be out. This should come out tomorrow or the day after, but make sure to check out everything we put out, and then next week Q&A, and then the Juventus Moan Fest, as I call it, Gobbi Fest 2025, moaning with Romeo and Carlo. Woe is me.
The sixth edition now. They're becoming a regular. I think a few more editions to come, I think.
Yeah, woe is me. Right. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ciao, ciao.